Hey everyone, welcome to Smash Trivia. I'm your host, Smash Trivia John. Also, welcome to the 10th episode of the Gamma Analysis. Thank you for listening to these 10 episodes. It really means a lot to me, and there's lots more to come. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia to follow everything happening with me. I'll be the one with the big old green head in the profile picture. I'm so excited to get into this. This is the Gamma Analysis. Basically, in this series, I'm going to review everything Hulk, all the movies and TV shows, and maybe at some point I could get into comics, but that's a while off. Hope you enjoy Smash Trivia Presents the Gamma Analysis. I want to ask everyone listening if they could please do something for me. Please share the hell out of this podcast with all your friends, because I really want to get the Gamma Analysis to be big enough that by the time She-Hulk comes out, maybe I could become press or either get at the first episode early or be invited to premiere or even just get one of the press goodie bags. And for this episode, I'm going to review Hulk versus, aka Hulk versus Wolverine and Hulk versus Thor. Just so you know, this is not a critical podcast. In every episode, I always try to put out positive vibes. So while I will mention a couple of things I don't like, I won't dwell on them. And the majority of my review will be things I liked in it. With that being said, I have two guests today. I'm not going to force them to follow the same code of positivity if they don't want to. Our two guests today are Keith, aka KeithSketches, aka Filmkritter with a K, and Rob from the Weekly Meat Podcast. How you doing?
Doing fine. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How about you, Keith?
Doing good, man. Excited to meet Rob. This is awesome.
That was my first time meeting him too. That was nice. All right. So as I have every week that we do a podcast, I have a trivia question. In the comics, who is Banner's primary rival for Betty's affections? Do either of you have an answer to that?
Phil Dunphy from Modern Family. No, I have no idea, honestly.
Is it Glenn Talbot?
I'll give the answer later in the show.
That sounds legit. My money's on Rob's answer.
Yeah, I don't recap what I watch scene by scene, so I highly recommend watching the episodes before listening. And this episode, I want to shout out the Caption Life podcast. They are a podcast about comics and pop culture. I haven't listened to a lot of their stuff, but what I have, I enjoyed. One episode that I listened to that really made me think was their Mount Rushmore of Creators episode. So check them out. You will not regret it. All right. So do you guys want to review the Hulk versus Wolverine first or Hulk versus Thor first?
I personally don't have a preference. I watched them in order of Thor, then Wolverine, but I was
Same.
The whole time I didn't know if I was watching them out of order, and I was like, are they one piece? Is it all gonna? And then it was like, oh, they're very clearly separate things. So
my biggest gripe is I could not find it in digital media form anywhere. I had the DVD, but it's with my daughter, and she currently had tested positive for COVID.
Oh, man.
So I couldn't get to her to get the DVD. So I watched it in like broken YouTube videos 3 different times, like in 3 separate days. I sat down and watched these broken YouTube videos, and yeah, so I'm ready, but it was an experience.
Similarly, I did have to find it on, I think it was dailymotion.com. They had it in like, each one was in 2 parts, but I was like, I thought that I was at a loss for the Wolverine one because the first time I played it, it started playing in Japanese, and I was like, oh no, I don't know what's happening. So, but luckily I found I found an English clip.
Nice.
Okay. Well, since you guys both watched first the Hulk versus Thor one, you guys want to do that one first?
Sounds good.
All right. So first thing I had for this one was that the last time I tried watching the Hulk versus Thor, I honestly found it really boring, and so I stopped watching it pretty quickly. Happily, this time I did not find it nearly as boring as when I did like a year or 2 ago when I tried watching it.
Did you find that it reminded you of? My biggest thing was that it reminded me of Ragnarok. It made me want to watch Ragnarok right away.
Yeah, there are definitely some feelings that remind me of Ragnarok, but I think I would definitely rather Ragnarok because this this one doesn't have nearly as much humor as I would want. And this one, particularly like in the first like 10-15 minutes, it's some really dry stuff.
It's real heavy.
Yeah. And they particularly those first 15 minutes are what like last time was why I stopped watching it because I kind of got bored with it and I wasn't really enjoying the Loki controlling Hulk thing. Would have rather that the whole thing just be that Hulk was fighting Thor, not someone controlling him.
That's
So oh, let's see. Next thing I had was the cool use of the Bifrost for the opening scene. I thought I really liked that. And also with this opening, I really liked the title card, both with this one and with the Hulk versus Wolverine one. I think is a really cool looking font and all that stuff they use for the title. Do you guys have anything for this beginning stuff that you'd like to mention?
I like the intro.
Okay.
Like you said, it was dry and it was real like old school, like Thor and Thor the Dark World-esque, where it was taking itself a little too serious without like joking that it was taking itself serious. Because that's what made Ragnarok cool, is they knew it was supposed to be serious, but they joked about it. Whereas the first two movies, they tried their hardest to make it a serious movie, and it just fell flat on everybody. And that's how the intro to this felt as well.
Yeah, I can see that. The reason why I was asking you is I felt like I was talking a lot. I didn't want to make it that you guys weren't allowed to get anything in or something.
No worries, man. It's your show. We're here.
Yeah, man. No, I think
here.
Rob's 100% right. The feeling of Thor 1 and 2 are really, they don't. I feel like Thor must have been one of the hardest ideas to bring to the MCU, because not only did they go with a no-name kind of actor, but the other versions or the other things we've seen, like Iron Man, we immediately fell in love with him because he was so grounded in reality. He had no powers, he had no fantastical things going on. You know, Captain America, everybody can root for a hero who just wants to do good, and he starts from such an underdog tale. Whereas Thor is so massive, and they get like a Shakespearean actor director to do the first movie, and they get like the Game of Thrones directors to do the second movie, and it's like, that's just serious upon serious. What are you guys doing?
Oh god, yeah.
But yeah, so they really Taika Waititi the right trilogy.
Once they realized they could do big, massive space stories with humor like Guardians,
Yeah,
they just opened the door wide open, and it's the best thing they've ever done.
100%.
Oh yeah, that Guardians really was their as you said, best thing they ever could have done, because it opened that up and it made it so MCU was more something that I could fall in love with, because a big thing for me is like it's harder for me to watch a lot of serious things versus it's so much easier for me to watch and enjoy something that has some comedy in it.
Right.
100%. I got like a Star-Lord shirt on right now.
Nice.
It's one of my faves.
Oh yeah.
All right. So the next thing we have was that I have at least was that we hear Loki narrating, which I was actually thinking that it was Thor narrating until he said that Thor was his stepbrother. Did you either of you get that?
I thought it was Odin.
Ah, okay.
It was nasally, but not like, it was still a deeper voice than you would expect for Loki. So yeah, I could see where it could throw you off.
Yeah. So monsters attack for 7 days while Odin sleeps. I wrote, do these monsters think it's the Purge or something?
Like, this is our time. Let's go. Roll out.
It's like there's a big countdown and everybody's just waiting for Odin sleep. It's like a New Year's countdown.
Yeah, it's like the monsters Black Friday. They're like, let's go. It's all best sale on Asgardians ever. Yeah.
The funny thing to me is like it sounds like this is something that's been happening again and again throughout the years. You'd think at some point they'd realize, there's Thor there. He's probably going to stop us. He's going to kill us.
Yeah, there's not too much forethought with a monster.
Yeah.
So next thing was that I had was that Loki brought Bruce Banner to Asgard to unleash Hulk on Thor. A pretty smart plan. And I think it is honestly a very smart plan, as that's probably one of the only people who could possibly defeat Thor. And this is a universe where Loki doesn't have some prior anger with Hulk within since he hasn't been smashed by Hulk.
Yeah, he's not afraid of him at all, apparently.
Nope.
The Warriors 3 were joking with each other, and not the target audience for these jokes, but I thought these jokes just really fell flat. Really, really not great jokes at all.
It's almost like they took from this, because this came out like 2009, so
yeah, I think so.
It was even before they'd ever shown the Warriors 3 in the MCU. It's almost
right.
They seem to have plucked them almost perfectly from this cartoon because they're so corny. And really, they're only a plot device to show that Thor is the strongest Asgardian, and that these guys are just cannon fodder for whatever comes at them. Yeah, it was weird.
Loki is really good at motion capturing for the Hulk. I noticed is honestly all of these moves that Hulk was doing seemed like things that he would do, that was, even though I didn't like the idea of Loki controlling Hulk for the story, but he honestly did do a great job.
Yeah. Unlike yourself, that was when I clicked in and I was like, I like this take, because I think about it, like 99% of the time, Hulk is a hero. He's a good guy. So how many times in the comics over the years has he been mind controlled? Has some big supervillain gone, I'm going to puppeteer the Hulk, or I'm going to make him put an extra special angry spell on him or something to make him fight his friends? And that seems to be like the one thing that, once Banner kind of, or Hulk kind of decides he's a good guy, you have to turn him back against the other guys somehow. With some big spell or something. So it was as soon as I saw that part when Loki and the boob lady finally convinced him to
the
go
boob lady.
The boob lady. The way
Enchantress?
She was drawn. Yes, Amora. I was just like, I've got to be honest with you guys. I draw, and I did not like this art style. I was sitting there going, what the heck?
It's not the best.
Thor looked like Thor's face looked like he had come last in a shovel fight. That's the way. And he had bangs. If you saw Chris Hemsworth he takes his helmet off and he has bangs, could you take that man seriously? I couldn't.
The thing is, I don't think he was really supposed to be taken seriously.
Fair. And
even in the first Thor film, I don't think that Thor was supposed to be taken seriously. I think they particularly made him where it's like, this guy is super arrogant. He thinks he's super cool, but in reality, he's not exactly not the same as he thinks he is. So the next thing I have was they physically took Bruce out of the Hulk. And that was one thing that I kind of like, because I like the idea of seeing the two of them stare face to face at each other.
Yes.
And that's one thing we haven't ever gotten in live action that I really want to see.
I feel like the closest we got was Eric Bana's Hulk when he has that like mirror moment, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's probably the closest.
The Hulk Banner split stories in comics are some of my favorites. They just recently did that run in Immortal Hulk where they split the two off, and there's the new Hulk series is about, I believe it's Hulk going to the Avengers and the other heroes for help because Banner's now lost his mind.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, so it's going to be a new dynamic that I think they're going to try messing with here in the actual comics this summer. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and there's another Hulk animated film that I really enjoy. I know that it's not rated very highly, but I enjoy it. It's called Hulk Where Monsters Dwell, and there's actually a scene in there where they see each other in a dream sequence set on by Nightmare. And I always thought that was such a cool sequence in that film.
Yeah, I've watched that once and never went back to it. I have to take in all the Hulk media I can, but there are some things I don't go back to.
I understand. Yeah. So the next thing we have is I really felt sorry for Hulk being mind controlled and having to endure being beat up by Thor. Let's see another thing here.
I was thinking that not to jump in, but the fact that like you've got these characters that the only ones that can really beat on each other this badly because they're so invulnerable to physical beatdowns. Hulk, Thor, Wolverine, all great choices.
Ben Grimm.
They can just keep kicking each other's ass and it's fine. And it's no big harm done. Just keep the casualties out of the way. But so I love that they play within the Avengers movies too. But yeah, they can't really hurt each other too bad. It's not like Iron Man where he's fighting Iron Man and he just keeps running out of iron parts.
Right.
And eventually it'll just be Tony dying. But these guys can just keep wailing.
That's why I can't wait till we get the thing.
Agreed.
Yes.
And I just realized that I skipped a whole bunch of notes, so I'm going back a little bit.
Go for it.
Wrote that how it was so easy for the Hulk to come out when Loki hit Bruce. I would have thought that Bruce would be able to control it a little bit better. And then the next thing I asked was the Warriors 3. They definitely have no chance against the Hulk. And especially not with Loki controlling Hulk.
Right.
And it was really cool seeing Hulk throw a battering ram through the gate. And I liked how Hulk looked surprised to see Thor coming down, even though that was what Loki wanted to happen.
Right.
Yeah, I was a little lost in the sauce there, how that mind control worked.
And now back up to where I was before. So Loki was supposed to be super smart, but somehow he does not understand that being Hulk doesn't automatically make him be worthy to pick up Mjolnir. I feel like he should be able to tell that it's an enchantment that's not just strength.
Right.
True. I thought you weren't going to be critical of these, John. No, I think that another misstep of Loki's was that he just immediately takes the first chance he can get to explain that it's him. Like if you were to be in the Hulk and control the Hulk, wouldn't you want to keep thinking, letting Thor think that he was fighting a friend? And instead he's just like, it's me, brother. And It's like, come on, man. And then he's like, oh, well, I'll hit you harder then. That's fine.
Since I know it's you in there.
Yeah. Who cares? Banner will be fine, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Even though he doesn't know that Banner is not in Hulk's body.
It's a complicated plan.
So I thought it was some cool imagery when Hulk is in the middle of the lightning as Thor comes down. And then we have as well, finally around this point is when Hulk breaks free of the spell, and through Loki feeding him rage and him breaking the spell, I think what they were trying to say here was the Hulk got mad enough that he basically became World Breaker Hulk. Do either of you guys know about World Breaker Hulk?
Oh yes, that's my specialty. I'm all about all the World Breaker, the Sakaar, everything.
Oh, please elaborate. What is World Breaker Hulk? Explain it to me.
He's
like I'm
basically
5.
one of the angriest. So he's one of the strongest versions of Hulk.
It's basically
the
right, walking.
Rob?
Yeah, he's basically a walking gamma bomb. Like he can break the world by just bashing into the ground. And so when the original Planet Hulk in the comics, they called him a world breaker. And basically his rage at the end of the story broke the world and they made their way back to Earth. And he basically could have done it there, but he was wanting to punish those who sent him away. So it's only been like 15-ish year window where they've used it a couple times, but yeah, they used them in this last run in the Immortal Hulk as well. So it's a really cool, just all out rage Hulk story.
Awesome.
Was this at a point of strength that was like that, or do you think he was, or do you think this is just a little bit above the normal Hulk?
I'd say a little under the World Breaker, because I don't think it was written. It wasn't able to be used, or it was still part. I'm not sure exactly when that story was written, but in the newer comics and the Immortal run, anytime they go into like the World Breaker, it's like gamma drool. His eyes are greener, and like it's really cool.
One thing I noticed right after Loki stopped being in control, Hulk actually grabbed Mjolnir, which I was surprised about seeing. And they didn't bring it up at all later. So that was an interesting thing that I don't know.
Because he's still separated from Banner, right?
Yeah, he's still separated from Banner.
So yeah, the raw Hulk might be worthy enough
Interesting
to yield. I often wondered about that. And if you think of No Way Home, when Strange had that interaction with the out-of-body Spider-Man,
yeah,
like the spider sense itself is an active being, and
true.
And the Hulk being itself might, he could be worthy because it's not attached to a human mind.
Interesting.
That was such a great moment in No Way Home.
Yes, it was.
That moment.
It really
so small,
was.
but it was so good. How are you doing that? That's so good.
That was the best representation of spider sense they've ever done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was really cool seeing that. And like when I saw that there's, I did not know what was going on. I was like, wait, what? He's able to move in the astral plane?
Yes, that's sweet.
Yeah. At first I thought it was just because he was powerful or that he was strong, but it really is. I love that it was a spider sense that gives him that out of body. What's going on? Maybe I can still save the day. It's awesome.
They did a lot of stuff with spider sense in that in No Way Home. Like they had brought in, I think, from the comics where they immediately, when two Peters meet each other, they know that each other are Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and they had that when Toby and Andrew met each other.
Yep,
that was awesome.
Test each other's webs.
The next thing that I had was that Loki actually kills Banner, and like I was so surprised that actually happened. Since I write my notes as I'm watching, I wrote, did he actually kill him, or did he just send him to another dimension?
I think the first half of it, when I was watching on dailymotion.com, it's like it ended right when he was about to hit Banner, and then it starts in another scene where the Hulk is still fighting Thor, and like I think that's where he ostensibly kills Thor, but I didn't see what had happened to Banner until they go back to his gray and like non-really shown body, where he's just like not really addressing it, but he's like, yeah, I killed this guy over here. It's like, wait, what? You killed him?
He did what?
Yeah. That was a shock to come back to in part 2. I was like, what did I miss? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Right after that, I had to find it interesting that I was thinking at that moment that we were seeing some empathy from Enchantress for the Hulk, but we find out later that it's actually she's just as in love with Thor.
Always.
Yeah.
It's weird that we get like this weird amalgamation of Lady Loki and Enchantress with Sylvie in the Loki series, and we'll never really get the Enchantress that they're referencing in this special or in this animated film.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that because they're doing like Sylvie's her own thing and she can enchant, so she doesn't have to call herself that, but she can be the enchanter in the MCU.
Yes. Yes. Agreed.
And also, would there be much of a point to a specific Enchantress character when Thor is not going to be interacting with Loki or any of those Loki characters moving forward?
Right. There's unless they do like Tales of Thor, that would be awesome, like some kind of Disney Plus series where they cast a younger guy to do like Thor's adventures, where they do introduce some of the old, Asgardian characters that they missed out on, but that'd be a hard sell.
Hard sell, but I could see them doing it years from now.
Right.
Absolutely. With maybe not with Liam Hemsworth, but someone younger.
Yep.
It'd be like the Young Adventures of Hercules or Indiana Jones or something. But with
exactly.
Thor,
Find me a long-haired, blonde, buff dude.
I could,
is it that hard?
I could see them doing it as a animated series and just having Chris Hemsworth voice him.
That would be awesome.
He could just suck on a little helium. I'm sure they got some digital way of doing it, but the helium might be fun.
I saw a Hulk smash Thor through an entire mountain, and I really enjoyed watching that happen.
Yeah.
Next thing I have was that, man, that was brutal when Hulk just starts repeatedly punching Thor into the ground. Like, Thor didn't even stand a chance with how strong this Hulk is.
Right.
That was so brutal.
Yeah, Hulk in his purest form, I guess, is a little harder to match.
When there's no human element in that head, he can do whatever he wants.
Scary stuff.
The next one that I had was where I realized that Loki actually did kill Banner, and I just wrote, "Oh shit, Loki actually did kill Banner! Damn!"
Oh my god, they killed Bruce.
You bastards.
Oh man. Something I don't think that they explained in the film, and I was wondering if either you guys caught anything to explain this. Why was Hulk going after Odin?
I kept thinking it had something to do with just shiny. He was like, oh.
Just once he's on the rampage, he just wants to keep fighting, I guess.
Okay.
It's like how he couldn't really let Surtur go when he saw big monster, biggest glowing thing in the room. Let me go after it. Like, yeah.
Big monster.
Big monster.
Oh, for once in your life, do not smash. Oh,
that was good.
I found Loki's choice of words hilarious after Thor told him that by unleashing the Hulk, you started another Ragnarok, where Loki said, "It's possible that I made a poor choice." Oh, man.
It was nice to see a little bit of humor from that Loki. That Loki reminds me a little bit more of the Richard E. Grant classic Loki that we got in the Loki series, which is
right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Especially he's supposed to be like Hela's father instead of, their estranged brother or anything. But yeah, it seemed like that old Loki we never got a chance to see much of.
These are going to be some interesting team ups. Thor and Loki and Sif and Enchantress. Though I don't think we saw much of a team up between Sif and Enchantress. Like, I don't remember much of Enchantress when actually fighting when Hulk got into the throne room.
Yeah, the Lady Sif moments when she took over and started fighting Hulk and was stabbing him and flipping him and stuff was the most I've ever rooted for Lady Sif. I was like, I want to see this Lady Sif in Thor Love and Thunder. That was really cool. But yeah, Enchantress wasn't able to do a whole lot of help.
Yeah, one of the frost giants that Loki sent to fight the Hulk said, "Loki, the god of mischief, bid you death, mortal creature." And I wrote, because of Hulk beating him up, I wrote, "Well, I think Hulk bids you death, Mr. Frost Giant."
No, you.
Yeah, you first. Yeah. It shows that size truly doesn't matter in that scenario.
The next thing I had was when we see Banner wake up in the afterlife, and I wrote, I know they have to bring Banner back to Asgard, but honestly, I didn't want them to because it was nice to see that he's finally somewhere he can be happy.
Right.
Gave him a real dose of selfishness too. He was like really loving that place. It's a shame.
Oh yeah.
I was actually surprised that Hela, being an underworld ruler kind of thing, it was kind of odd that she'd give him such a paradise to live in. But I guess if she wants to keep him there, that's kind of the only reason. Yeah.
Well, I think that she's just within this continuity. I don't know if it's supposed to be like this in the comics, but I think within this continuity, they're trying to say that she just controls all of the afterlife. And I think that Banner went to Valhalla.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
And she probably wouldn't be able to put him in a worse place since he's not a bad guy.
Right.
The next thing I had was that, man, Hela is so tall in this. I really wanted to see a side-by-side comparison with the Hulk to see how tall she is.
I was surprised by that too. She's like at least 12 feet or higher. Yeah.
Everybody in this movie was extra long for some reason. Like they were just drawn really narrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember I think it was like some kind of disparaging comment that Loki made, but right afterwards I was like, I just wrote down, Loki, can you shut up? No one likes you.
This was a harder Loki to like. There were very few moments where I was like enjoying him the way that we normally do with Tom Hiddleston playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just really loved in the Hela scenes and in the underworld scenes, the part where like the Hulk just goes Wreck-It Ralph on Hell. I was like, yes, amazing. Even the underworld is not safe. He's like, he's making a mess of my place. Yeah.
I like that too. But I wrote during that scene, I'm really sorry, Hulk, but you can't fight souls. They're incorporeal. Because he just kept trying to punch, but his hand just keeps going through them.
It's a nice realization for him to come to. Not everything is smashable.
Next I had was how I really liked that they actually had a bit of a Hulk versus Thor rematch, and unlike with the other film, it's not just the final frame of the film. So that was really nice. I don't remember exactly where this take place and what the scene was, but I wrote, it's okay, Hulk, to be tired. You did a lot of smashing in a very short time.
It was a long day, buddy.
Yeah. Take 5. Anybody got some orange slices? Yeah. I remember in this moment, the end, the wrap up of everything, the fact that he just lets Loki get sucked down and his soul becomes, and then he's just like, I could fight you for Loki's soul. Will you? No,
I don't.
Nah.
Cold Thor.
I'm good.
Like, he's done enough. He deserves this.
Yeah. But that scene, I was like, wow, Loki's own daughter took his soul. Damn, that's a pretty bad father-daughter relationship.
Yeah.
Talk about daddy issues.
Yeah, that's a weird Thanksgiving.
I just imagine Loki's like, all right, I'm here for Thanksgiving. Not that I have a choice in the matter, because he's out in hell, so he doesn't really have a much of.
And hell is just like, we're eating mac and cheese like I like. Deal with
it. with the breadcrumbs.
Yeah. No, not the breadcrumb. This really is hell.
So the last note I had from this one was that we see Odin wake up at the end, and I was really hoping, and I was sad that we didn't get Hulk and Odin meeting. I really wish we got them to meet. I think that would have been really interesting to see both in this, and I really would have loved it in live action if before they'd killed off Odin Ragnarok that they let Hulk and him meet.
Right. I would have loved to seen Odin just one hand grab Hulk and just slam him. Like, this is how it's done. Like, just look over at Thor and just like shake his head, like, my boy.
I feel like, yeah, he would do that, but then with who Odin is, he would have some compassion towards the Hulk, and
Right.
that would be really nice to see too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd show the respect for the strength and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He'd probably knight him immediately. It's like, oh, you're part of my
Yep, come on.
Warriors 4 now.
Yeah, you
Warriors
can
Like, you know
replace
what? You can replace Volkswagen, actually.
Volkswagen.
Volkswagen's out.
I don't like him. Keeps eating all my fucking food.
What was it? Volkswagen and Ballsack and
Honda, Volkswagen, Thandrilli, or whatever.
Fiat.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's good.
So my final thoughts of this was that I think it took a bit to get into this, but when I finally did, it was pretty enjoyable, and I'm really happy about how much Hulk we actually got in this, as opposed to the other we'll be reviewing today. And I think it's probably just as good as the other. The only thing was I wish there was a bit more comedy in this one. But you guys have any final thoughts on this one?
More, yeah, definitely more action or more Hulk in this one than we get in the next one. But I'm not complaining about the next one. But yeah, no real complaints other than, like you said, the humor is missing, but that's also before they realized that they could have a comedic, what I'm at a loss for word.
Repartee?
Yeah, between the two of them, where
Yeah.
they can feed off each other. Whereas, all through the comics, it was always just fight, 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 fight.
Yeah.
Now they've realized that they can put humor in it in the live action, and it makes people want to watch it even more. So now that, I'm not going to say they have a chance to go back and redo this, but they now know what to do from this point forward.
Yeah.
I could see this being something that Taika Waititi maybe had some of the cast members like, just watch this on your free time or something like that, because Hela's performance felt very much like Kate Blanchett's performance.
Right.
It felt very reminiscent of the way they did a lot of things. Like, you even have Valkyrie in there. You got a lot of elements that are featured well in Thor Ragnarok. But I also know that Taika Waititi wouldn't watch this and go, oh, this is the be all end all, I have to make this. He would just go,
right,
oh, there's some elements to pick from, but for the most part, we're going to do our own thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, Hulk versus Wolverine. And just like with the other, I think it was a really cool intro sequence, with especially at the end there being the title card. One thing with both of these two films that I didn't realize until this time of watching was that Kevin Feige was actually an executive producer on them. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, he's had his hand in everything since they said what, X-Men?
Yeah, I think since X-Men. Like, I want to expect a directed DVD film to have his name on it, but it was nice to see that.
Because it's still Marvel Animated Studios, right?
Yeah, it was made by Marvel Studios. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
I never caught that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so definite comic book authenticity to both of these, which was really enjoyable to see, and definitely something that I feel Feige would be in approval of.
Yeah,
pushing for.
So the other thing I had really for the film was, though I didn't mind it too much, honestly, I'm not a terribly big fan of the format of showing one scene from later in the film as the first scene and then having blank hours earlier. I kind of rather a more just straightforward film, but as I said, I didn't really mind it too much. I was a terribly big fan of that. But
as long as you don't slingshot me like they did in Eternals,
Back and forth, back and forth.
That was
Well,
my big gripe in
yeah.
my first watch of Eternals, was it was very back and forth. But this one, and I get what you're saying as far as starting off at one point and then going backwards. It makes it hard.
Sometimes non-linear storytelling can be like something that they think is going to make it exciting when it really ends up just being a bit of a hassle. Like if there's no point to doing it, if you're not
Right.
really revealing it, like I didn't really learn anything different or feel in suspense wondering, you go in reading that the title is Hulk versus Wolverine, and then Wolverine wakes up going, what happened? It's like, oh, we know already, it's okay.
Yes.
Another film that does that, which it wasn't too bad in this film, but I definitely think I would have rathered if they hadn't done it, was the first Deadpool film. They did a lot of jumping back and forth in that film.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think even more did in that one than they did with Eternals.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I would say that it's a good example of effective jumping back and forth, though, with Deadpool.
Yeah, they let Ryan Reynolds narrate during the back and forth, so that kind of helped.
Yeah,
I never thought about that they did it that much. But yeah, that was very back and forth in Deadpool.
Oh yeah,
adds to the chaos.
Yeah. So Wolverine was sent here by the Canadian government to face the Hulk. And I kind of wish that instead that it wasn't like that, and that I would have rather probably that they were both on the run and they just run into each other. More like the original Hulk versus Wolverine comic book.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know when and if it really happened, like before X-Men, after X-Men, but what point in Wolverine's life was the Canadian government calling upon him and solely him to come and deal with certain problems? I thought that was kind of interesting.
Like Logan the Mountie.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, you guys on horses can't deal with it. All right. I'll figure it out. Sure. All right.
So next I have that maybe the flashbacks were misleading, but it seemed, and now we know that they were kind of misleading, but it seemed that they were making out that Hulk was completely just a monster in this and not someone who actually had somewhat of a brain. And I'm happy that that didn't end up being the case.
Yeah.
It felt very much like the Ultimate Comics Hulk. At least
yes.
the art style especially just looked very much like the way they drew him in those comics, which I really loved and took a lot of inspiration from as a teenager.
Okay.
So
which they made this Hulk versus two story set and in lieu of making an Ultimate War DVD, because they did Ultimate Avengers 1 and 2, and the next one was going to be like an Ultimate War, but they ended up pivoting and putting out Hulk versus.
Oh,
that makes sense.
Interesting. So the next thing I had was that I would have expected that Wolverine would have found Hulk already hulked out and not just Bruce Banner. And I thought that was interesting that they did that.
I thought it was super dark when he slams him up against a wall and he goes, "A third claw's gonna come out in a second, bub. You better start talking." I was like, he just smells radioactive and you're like, I'm gonna impale this brain.
Yep.
Aggressive, Mr. Government Worker.
Right. Is that something in the comics that Wolverine can smell that Hulk has gamma on him? Because I don't think I've ever heard of anyone being able to smell that there's gamma on Hulk or on Bruce.
I don't think he can smell the specific gamma, but I know he can smell. I don't want to say he can smell energy, but I don't want to call it a sixth sense either, but he definitely can track the Hulk.
Okay, interesting.
Whereas another callback into these Immortal Hulk comics is that the Hulk can track these other variations of the Hulks through their radiation.
Makes sense.
Okay, interesting.
They're getting their own spider sense.
It's his Logan tingle.
I loved seeing the Hulk actually Hulk out in this, and And this is one thing I found really nice in starting this podcast is getting to see a lot more transformations since like in the MCU, we haven't actually had a transformation since the first Avengers film.
Right.
Really?
it's been
We've had
a
a
long
transformation.
time.
You're right.
Yeah.
Age of Ultron, he went back into Bruce, and then everything else, it was just kind of done off camera.
Yeah. Ragnarok was off camera at the Bifrost.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Huh.
So that's been something that's really been nice since starting this podcast, just getting to see a lot more transformations.
He really tried in Infinity War.
Yeah.
What do you mean? No. Yeah. Which I think happens in was it this one or the other one where, oh yeah, it was Wolverine says that to him, I think. Says we could really use the other guy or whatever. And he says, no, what do you mean? No. Mirrored Infinity War pretty well. Or I guess Infinity War mirrored it.
It was such a great throw from Hulk when he threw Wolverine. I was surprised by how far Wolverine just flew away.
He's trying out for the Eagles.
Cannonball special.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I love the campiness of this Wolverine too, that we get a little bit of that 90s X-Men series. I really am excited that Disney Plus is going to be putting out the rebirth of the 90s X-Men animated series, because him just sitting in that helicopter at the beginning and he's like, who are you anyway? He's like, you don't want to know, kid. It's like, that's pretty campy. That's perfect Logan fashion.
I know you said, Keith, that you are actually a really big fan of how they drew Hulk in this one. I honestly, this one, I wasn't a fan of the look of Hulk in this one.
He's all lab.
That's fair. That's fair. I think that the Hulk in either of these didn't really bother me as much as how the other characters were drawn. And I think that Thor more than anybody bothered the hell out of me in the last one. But the Hulk, two very different Hulks in these. You're right. And this one, I didn't even notice how they did his musculature. I just saw his head and the short hair and the freaky eyes. It was just that's what reminded me of Ultimate Hulk.
Right.
Next thing I have is that I like that we got some blood when Wolverine stabs Hulk in the back.
Yep. Adamantium
so
claw
nice.
can do more than Sif's blade, apparently.
Right. Like, I'm just wondering how they're gonna do this in the MCU when they finally give us a Wolverine, or even Hulk versus a Black Panther. Like, the vibranium claws should do the exact same thing as adamantium claws. So like, I want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know a lot of people try to say that, the Marvel will never make there be a R-rated film, but Disney already confirmed they will do a Deadpool 3 as R-rated. So I would not be surprised if they're willing to make a Hulk versus Wolverine be R-rated. I really wouldn't be terribly surprised about that.
I could see him making a Wolverine movie being R-rated featuring a fight with the Hulk, but until they pull those rights back in, we're never going to get the Hulk movie that we're owed.
Yeah.
Though there's not been anything confirmed, there actually been a lot of rumors that they've already gotten those rights back, and there rumors that there possibly is planned a World War Hulk film coming. What were you gonna say?
I would love that, but for that to happen, they need to redo Planet Hulk.
Yeah, so what the rumors are currently is that it would stem from the end of She-Hulk, and at the end of She-Hulk would have Hulk meet his son Scar, and that they go back to Sakaar because there's something wrong there, and that would be how they would be redoing the Planet Hulk storyline. I really hope that's true. And
that'd be nice.
Also, if it's true, I hope that they actually give us the Red King on Sakaar.
Yeah, I listened to. Go ahead.
I love Ragnarok, but that was one thing where it saddened me that they didn't even reference to there possibly being another ruler that wants the car at some point of the Red King.
Yes.
I'm hoping that the uprising that happens at the end of Ragnarok, that possibly the Red King came from that.
That would be awesome.
Oh.
Yeah. I was to say, I listened to your show on the Planet Hulk DVD, and as much as I love that DVD, the comic is so much better. It's so intense.
I need to read the comic, and since you watch that show, you should know. After I watched that film when it first came out, like I did not think, oh, I should read the comic this is based on. No, I went and read the comic that is the sequel, which is World War Hulk. And I also read the Son of Hulk Scar story right after that. And those were my first ever comics that I ever read. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was. It is a cool thing to look back and think that those were the first ones I ever read. But like, I remember because of how young I was when I was reading those, I was like, it took me a while to read them because they are very dense stories.
I have the entire run from the prelude to Planet Hulk, where they actually shot him into space, all the way until the fall of the Hulks, which was like Red Hulk, Red She-Hulk, A-Bomb, like as that got out of control right before they introduced Amadeus Cho. I have that entire run of Hulk comics because I love that entire run so much.
I think what I had read was I don't remember which all storylines it comprised of, but I had gotten from the library a hardback copy of Greg Pak's World War Hulk run, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah. It was then like it was such, as I said, it was such a dense read, but like looking back, it was definitely a great storyline. So good.
It had the John Romita Jr. art in it, and the way he draws the Sentry and the Hulk and the Fantastic Four. Like, I love that dude's artwork. He's coming back to Spider-Man this summer. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah, I love his artwork, and the fact that he drew one of my favorite arcs of the Hulk is just chef's kiss.
Oh yeah. Let's see. The next thing I had was
Back to the mutants.
More. I put a quote from Hulk that I thought I really like. Hulk smash little man. Little man leave Hulk alone. Hulk is strongest there is. And then then really right after the words, he just starts screaming into the sky.
They got the Hulk scream down perfect in this. I loved it. I was like, I never really thought about how much I loved hearing Hulk yell in the MCU movies, where he just him
lets it out.
Yeah, him coming after I'm trying to remember the damn name of the aliens in Avengers 1.
Chitauri.
Sorry, yeah, when he's just like yells back at them, and it's just the best. It's just perfect.
And
they did a good job.
The Lady Deathstrike scene later on with the screaming is
he's screaming in her face. Yeah, that reminded me of, I don't know, weird reference, but Brendan Fraser in the Mummy movies, when they they can unlock their jaw and scream in his face, and he just goes, he just like shoots him with a shotgun and runs away.
Oh man.
Oh man, I love those movies.
Yeah.
Good time.
Oh man. So let's see. The next thing I had was, I like how you can very clearly see how Wolverine sliced clear through the top of Hulk's shoulder, because like there was a small little dent there for a second. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, they can do a little bit of damage on each other, but they'll both probably live. It's kind of awesome. I love these team ups. Or love
different forms of regeneration. And
yeah, he's perfect for the Weapon X program. He's ideal. Another regenerator.
Yep.
I wrote that right when Deadpool and all those other characters showed up, I was like, who the hell are these guys? And why is Deadpool with them? I'm not complaining because Deadpool makes everything better, but
As a big X-Men comic fan, I was just so happy that they brought so many of these great like Logan adjacent characters into the story. And I wasn't complaining about the fact that it wasn't super Hulk heavy in this one, because as much as you see like the Weapon X story told in like the Hugh Jackman movies, whether it be the X-Men series or Wolverine Origins, but it's almost done to death as much as Uncle Ben dying. But at the same time, this was most accurate to the comics, like that little homage that they do in X-Men Apocalypse, where he's got the headgear, and like they tried to do such a great little moment in that movie, but it was like a PG-13 movie, so they had to do a lot of stuff off camera. But it was awesome though to see him back in the training mode where they're him against a bear and shit. Like it was awesome.
Yeah, I haven't played it myself, but from what I've heard, if you want to have a really good Wolverine origin story, play the game for X-Men Origins Wolverine. From what I've heard, it is super violent, and they do it really well in that. Yeah, it's apparently, from what I've heard, it's so much better than the actual movie is.
Well, that wouldn't be too hard, but
yeah.
Writing that on my recommendation list that I've started since you guys started talking.
Yeah, like you said, seeing those 90s X-Men like Wolverine villain characters like Omega Red, I loved him in the 90s animated series, and I hope that they bring him and do him justice in the future when they do bring some live action stuff, because they can do some really cool stuff with him. Lady Deathstrike, I was never a big fan of her, but it was cool to see that they brought her in for this.
Yeah. And I like they kind of had like two teams. It was kind of like Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike, and then Omega Red and Deadpool, as much as they hated each other. But it's like, okay, I got some trivia for you, John.
Oh.
You ready?
Okay.
Okay. The voice actor that did Sabretooth had a bit part in what non-MCU movie that was directed by a big MCU director? That's for anybody, if you want, Rob. As Rob Googles it on his phone right now.
Okay. Can you?
I'm curious.
Can I what? It was. I'll just give you the answer.
The name of the actor.
Oh, the actor's name? I didn't even write that down. I'm not as good at the trivia as you are, John.
Like I would not have been able to.
It's all good. I was while I was watching, I was checking out who the voice actors were, and the Sabretooth actor is actually in Elf. In Elf, him and Buddy are partying in the mailroom. He's the guy he parties with in the mailroom, and he did the voice of Sabretooth. He's done quite a bit of voice acting as well, but I was just like, why do I know that guy's voice? It was so weird.
He was in Smallville, Watchmen.
Interesting.
The Neverending Story 3.
Perfect.
How can it never end if there's 3 of them?
Because there's 4, 5, and 6. It just
It's one of my favorite Simpsons lines when Lionel Hutz claims that he tried suing the creators of the Neverending Story because it ended.
So I was honestly really confused at first before I did quickly catch on of what was going on. But at first I was confused when the Wolverine flashback started for his origin, because like we see him get knocked out and then immediately we see him coming out of the building. Like I was like, what's going on?
It wasn't super clear. It was a jarring.
Yeah.
Like the big difference, like they showed the same characters, but they were wearing gray. It was like that was how you were supposed to tell that it was the past. It's like, oh, it was black and white back then, I guess.
The darker time.
Yeah.
They said that this was the team of mutants. They say it was all Weapon X was the name of the team. And the thing is, I immediately started thinking it was X-Force because of the gray costumes. Because in the comics, they always wore the gray costumes when it was X-Force.
Right.
I
Sure.
wonder why they decided to change that for or this, because it is a weird. It's I think supposed to just be Wolverine, while everyone else has their own weapon distinction.
Hmm.
I wrote during the flashbacks that, wow, that's some really bushy hair when Wolverine breaks out of the tube.
Yeah, they had so many iterations of Logan in this one little movie. They had bushy Logan. They had headgear Logan.
Got
A lot
everything
of
but
good
Patch.
versions. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guy doing Deadpool's voice, like they had just like this is the same year that Wolverine Origins came out. So Ryan Reynolds had technically played Deadpool at this point. But which one came 1st? Like it just sounded like he was doing a dead-on impression of Ryan Reynolds. I was pretty impressed by that. And he had they gave him some great lines too. Like him saying, like, the professor goes, we put some considerable time and money into you, and he says, and pointy things, but he says it off camera. They just kind of like look over. It made me really, that was there was some really good stuff that Deadpool. It just felt like Ryan Reynolds. It was cool. More proof that he's the perfect person to play him.
Right.
And Nolan North, who was the voice of Deadpool in this, he has voiced Deadpool a whole bunch of times in a bunch of different things. And like, even though I like Ryan Reynolds better, I do really love Nolan North as Deadpool.
They clearly draw from each other. Like he must have been, you know, Reynolds, obviously a fan of the comics, has probably watched every version of Deadpool he's seen or that's out there for him to consume.
I remember a few years ago seeing Ryan Reynolds played on a video the Deadpool video game, which Deadpool was voiced by Nolan North in that, and that was really cool seeing.
That's awesome.
I love that game.
Oh yeah. And like you mentioned, like the Deadpool say and pointy things when Stryker says put a lot of time and money into Wolverine
and pointy things.
And I was dying laughing when that happened. And then also like his comment about shooting Hulk in the ass.
Yeah, I shot him in the ass.
I love that.
What? I did. It was good. It was really, really good Deadpool.
Oh, man. And we find out here that Wolverine was sent by Department H, which in the comics, apparently Department H is a branch of the Canadian government, of which who created Alpha Flight.
Yep.
Yeah, that obscure team full of Canadian stereotypes.
Yes.
Oh man. And the exit I wrote was also about the Deadpool, and I was like, hearing Deadpool talk about Hulk really makes me want to see them together in live action at some point. I would be so cool to see those two together in live action.
I am so excited.
The interactions with him and the Juggernaut and Deadpool 2 is the catalyst. Like they could do anything with that. Like that just showed you right there that he could mark out and just freak out at the sight of the Hulk. Like, oh my God, it's you.
Yeah. Like, can you sign my teddy bear or something?
Right.
Yeah.
I got Hulk hands.
Yeah. Sign. I've been wanting them to bring into the MCU for a long time that they haven't done yet, and partially why they haven't done yet is in the comics it is technically a Deadpool thing. Is there is a type of arrows that are Hulk fist arrows, fist trick arrows that Deadpool made in a comic where he was with Hawkeye, and I want to see some Hulk fist trick arrows in the MCU so much.
Yes.
I think that would be so fun.
You've been talking about that for some time, man.
Yeah.
We want that for you.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to see your reaction if it does ever happen. You need to record your face.
Yeah, like they had in the Hawkeye show the Pym arrow turning one big, and I was actually get signed like Hulk fist arrows if they're willing to have a arrow that's turns giant.
Yeah. Some specialty trick arrows would be
Mhm.
that would be the chef's kiss of
Yes.
trick arrows.
And can you imagine like combining eyeing the Pym arrow with the Hulk fist arrow?
Oh,
Oh my god.
One giant fist landing on an army.
that's
Oh
what
my
you
god.
throw at a celestial right there.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like at some point they're going to have like the rest of the heroes help the Eternals fight the Celestials. So that would be a great thing to have happen.
Right.
Oh my god. Let's see. The next thing I have here is I noticed where Wolverine is stuck while Stryker is trying to talk to him. It looked like it was a giant Captain America shield. Did either of you notice that?
I did not.
What he was
Oh,
tied up on.
he's tied
Yeah.
up on a big wheel. I did not notice that it
I
looked
thought-
like the Captain America shield.
At least it looked to me like the Captain America shield. It was never. No one mentioned it. Oh, it may just be my imagination.
I just wondered when they were
thought
gonna
that was
spin 'em.
kind of cool. Oh man. The next thing I have, and since Rob, you know the comics a lot better than I do, you probably would be able to answer this. I did not know that Strike is a robot. Is that the case in the comics?
Yeah,
Okay.
like a cyborg. Just she's human with cybernetic implants to her arms and legs,
Huh?
and
Yeah, they kept working on her a little too long or something. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I'm trying to think of not like a Nebula type deal, but yeah, they just constantly try to upgrade her to stay ahead of the weapon project.
Okay. Thank you, because I was really wondering. I was surprised when they revealed those robot parts the first time that she sort of dies in this.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
mutants aren't really my forte. I know a decent amount about them, mainly from the animated series and
Mhm.
a string of comics. But yeah, I'm looking forward to them coming. But
Mhm.
as far as the history, like especially within the last 10, 15 years, it's been so I don't want to say muddled, but they haven't given them, because they weren't in the movies, they weren't given the love and attention that the other characters were given in the
Mhm.
comics.
Fair.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, it'd be interesting seeing what her backstory is too in the comics, because it's interesting to me for her to have the healing factor but to not have grown back her own arms. How did she lose these arms? I'm
Yes.
interested now.
Oh.
I need answers, dang it. Yeah.
I like how all of the X-Force actually struck a pose right after Deadpool told them to strike a pose.
Yeah. Yeah. I also love Deadpool's line when it was very obvious to him that Sabretooth was lying about killing the professor. He's like, those were his last words before before Wolverine killed him. He's like, oh, really? I thought his last words would be, Sabretooth, no. It's like, that was pretty great.
Yeah. The next thing I have, I think is a little bit further, but the slow-mo line from Deadpool about how it was his favorite gun that just got destroyed was hilarious. Oh man.
That fight is so awesome when they finally get him to snap and all hell breaks loose. Like, I know it's a Hulk feature, but it felt like once it picked up, it felt more like a Wolverine story.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
and then he just takes them all on so differently, and like chucks Sabretooth like 90 miles east, and then
yeah,
and rips Lady Deathstrike apart, and yeah, that's good times.
Such a fun fight.
It really is. The next thing I wrote is stabbing Banner really is a great way to get the Hulk to come out.
That was so dark. How did he know that would work? That was so dark. I was like, how much drugs are in him that he just thought that this was okay?
We'll find out.
Yeah, I don't really care about you that much.
Because like technically he can't be killed, but at the same time, nobody really knows that. They just test it.
Yeah. No time like the present.
Right.
Deadpool, I know he's supposed to be able to grow back his limbs, but I didn't know he can reattach them.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was a good moment.
He's like,
Oh,
I think this part's backwards.
Yeah, it's upside down. There we go. Yeah, that was great.
Oh man, that's how I wrote. Finally, Hulk is back. Hulk smash claw people. I love that line.
That was a good one. And then talking man Hulk, or talking man hurt Hulk, and then ugly girl scratch Hulk. Everyone gets a nickname. It's beautiful.
Actually, I have is like, it's a line from Wolverine. I think it was Wolverine, where he was like, "I'm on your side, you flaming idiot."
Didn't Hulk throw one of somebody at Wolverine and he had ducked out of the way when he said that?
I think so.
Maybe,
I think
yeah.
maybe Wade.
Even though probably not, it wasn't a reference to this. I started thinking at that scene of the scene in Thor Ragnarok when Thor and Hulk are talking and Hulk's like, "I'm like raging fire. You're like smoldering fire." Man,
That's a good scene.
I love seeing Deadpool put a bomb in Hulk's mouth.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just making him more angry.
Yeah, then that's where he said the line you had said, Keith, of talking man hurt Hulk. Hulk rip off talking man's head. Oh man.
And I love that moment, Deadpool, because it's so chaotic. Earlier, Deadpool shoots Logan point blank in the forehead and said, like, after telling him that we all hate you, and then he shoots him, and then later he's like, "Oh, we're on the same side now." like he's switching all over the place. He doesn't mean anything that he's saying.
Right.
It's awesome.
Actually, I wrote was, "Damn Hulk, Lady Deathstrike ain't that ugly. It's quite rude to call her that."
Yeah, and then that vicious screaming match that they have, and he just unplugs both her arms. That was pretty brutal. I gotta be honest. That was I was surprised the rating was only PG-13 when I saw that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very surprising. I feel like they're more willing to let something be closer to R-rated in the animation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, can't show that in live action and call it PG-13.
Mm-hmm. I love there's a realization from Wolverine that Hulk is going to hit him with the giant, I'm guessing it was like a reactor sign that right at the end it's exploded the building. Logan is just like, he's like, this is not what, why are you doing this? And then he's like, it's right before it hits him.
Yeah,
like, I'm heading out.
And he lands right next to Sabretooth. I like that. And then they can really just end it with the two of them fighting forever, because Logan, first of all, just likes a good fight, and then Hulk has to prove that he can beat him. So it's just like this pride battle. That was a good end.
Yeah. Man. I like how you said that you got the Hulk and Thor fight at the end instead of the pause midair that we got at this. And it would have been cool to see him like friendly fight for a minute, just to roll the credits and let him fight or something, just goofing off. But yeah, that pause midair, I was like,
Yeah, I think even though I did enjoy this, I enjoyed all the stuff with Wolverine. I thought it was a pretty funny film. I do wish that there was a lot more Hulk in this one. And that for a film that's part of the Hulk versus collection, I would have thought they would be like at least half Hulk, not like 80% Wolverine.
Subdued Banner, the other 10%, and then 10% Hulk.
Yeah, I think it was probably a choice of them to. They knew that Logan was the more popular character at the time, at least more popular than Thor. So Thor got a lot less. I guess Thor got a lot of focus too, but Logan clearly always steals the show.
Always.
Yeah. I really liked how there was just a bunch of comic panels for the the credits of the film. I thought that was kind of a cool stylized credits. And one thing I realized during the credits was, so they showed a picture of X-23 in the credits, and they had also earlier in the film teased X-23. I'm wondering why they teased her with no payoff, odd or sign in the earlier in the film, and then the showing her in the credits.
Hmm.
That was
Could be that she
interesting.
was really big in the comics at the time, and they were thinking, okay, well, let's plant some seeds, and if people want to see another animated thing, maybe we'll make one about her. But I feel like they often, like most things that they know they're going to continue on and having some iteration down the road, they can afford to do that with planting seeds and seeing what people think online.
Right.
Yeah.
Testing the waters.
Yeah. See what's worth doing.
And we got a pretty awesome, at least in my opinion, post-credit scene. Deadpool just getting out, being thankful he's alive, just for Hulk to stomp on him as he jumps away, and then Deadpool saying, "Ow."
I didn't see any after credit stuff. The copy I saw ended right at the jump and the pause. Man. That's a shame. I'll have to find that on YouTube.
So my final thoughts on this one was that I think it was good, and I think it could have been better because I wanted more time to spend on Hulk and Wolverine fighting, and I think that it really a saving grace for this film was the comedy aspect of it from the different characters. I think those made it so I enjoyed it a lot more, and without having a bunch of Hulk in it.
Fair.
Is there any final thoughts you guys have on this one of the two films?
It was basically the yin to the Thor yang. Like, they're two completely different movies.
Oh yeah, they really are.
And that's what I like about them, that they came on the same DVD back in the day. You have your options if you want to, and I'm not even going to call the Wolverine a lighthearted one, but it has more humor. It's got, I want to say it has more action, whereas the Thor one is more serious, but it also has a more serious Hulk. So like you get your choice and you're entertained by both. So if you're a Hulk fan, like, you can't go wrong with either of them, but at least it gives you options. And I'm always a comedy fan over a dramatic fan, so I much rather preferred the Hulk versus Wolverine than the Thor on this go round.
Yeah. Same. I'd say that the Hulk versus Wolverine was the better of the two, just because with watching the Thor one, I was going, oh, this makes me want to watch Ragnarok. Whereas watching the Wolverine one, I was going, oh, this is a better version of stuff I've seen. Whether it be the animated series or whether it be some of the Wolverine movies we've seen. Like, this was an awesome version, and maybe you want a series of this. So, yeah.
I want to mention with both of these films and with a lot of Hulk's animated stuff. So the other day I realized most of these Hulk things since the year 2005 through the last one was in 2019, they've all been, Hulk has been voiced by the same guy in all of them.
No kidding.
Yeah. I put outside on Twitter to his official account where I was like, thank you for voicing the Hulk for 17 years.
Wow.
Like, man,
that makes sense.
Oh, cool. Well, I just wanted to mention that real quick. And so I do have some trivia, as I always do. The first thing I have, so here's some trivia from IMDb. The Hulk versus Wolverine actually serves as a loose prequel to an episode of the Wolverine and the X-Men from 2008 that's entitled Wolverine versus Hulk. Nolan North improvised most of his dialogue.
Surprise.
That's awesome.
Hulk versus Wolverine, inspired by the Incredible Hulk 181 from 1974, which was Wolverine's debut appearance in Marvel. Fred Katakovor, which is who voices Hulk, and Stephen Blum, who voices Wolverine. they recorded their lines together. So they got into their roles so much that the staff were worried that they'd brawl in the recording studio and had to pull them apart.
Yes.
Oh, man. And Marvel Comics writer Stan Lee created the Hulk in May of 1962, and then it created Thor straight afterwards in August of 1962. The Hulk versus Thor opens with a shot of the Rainbow Bridge connecting the realms of Asgard and Earth. This is a tribute to the Mighty Thor animated series from 1966, which opens with the same scene.
Oh, nice.
And this is the Earth battle between Hulk and Thor, excluding video games. The first having occurred in The Incredible Hulk Returns in 1988. The second being in an episode of one of the Hulk animated series called Mortal Bounds. And the third being in the Ultimate Avengers, the movie from 2006.
Nice.
The number on Wolverine's helicopter reads 404, which obviously in computer language, 404 is an error. But in real life, the last known gladiator fight occurred in the year 404 in the Roman Empire.
Nice.
Wow.
This takes place in the Earth 8096 version of the Marvel Universe, together with Wolverine and the X-Men, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and Thor Tales of Asgard. Bruce Banner's first appearance in Hulk versus Wolverine pays homage to his last scenes in the Hulk 2003, where he's seen at a lake location. The filmmakers say that the Hulk hit Sabretooth so hard the blow killed him. And also in Planet Hulk, Beta Ray Bill makes a reference to Hulk's rampage on Asgard. And we have some trivia from the Hulk wiki, which had Christopher Yost, which is one of the writers, I think, on this. He actually went on to write Thor Ragnarok. The film features a number of similarities to Hulk versus Thor, featuring the two characters fighting, as well as Hulk going to Asgard, as well as elements of Planet Hulk. All right, and the answer to the trivia question from earlier, Rob, you got it right. It was Glenn Talbot.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Nice.
All right.
I cannot stand Glenn Talbot from the 80s animated series. I don't know.
man.
I don't know when you're going to cover those, but
I need to find a way to watch them.
Right.
Watch them.
That's my bread and butter. I love those cartoons.
Whenever you want to come back on, I would love to have you. There are a bunch of Hulk animated TV shows that I want to be able to review. There was a 60s Hulk animated series. There was the 80s one, and then there's the 90s one. And then there's also the Hulk and the Agents of Smash animated series from the early 2010s. I just have, particularly for the 80s one and the 60s one, I have to just find a way to actually be able to watch them, and then I can actually be able to review them.
I know the 90s and Agents of Smash are on Disney Plus.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know those are on Disney Plus. I would mainly, why I haven't done any of the actual TV shows yet is because I want to, before I start doing one of those, I have to try and actually ask some people who if they want to come on with me, because I want to, just like with the 70s show, I want to have one guest who's on for every episode of a show.
Nice.
Yeah, so I wanted to make it would be weird to make someone come on just on the 6th episode of the show, even though they haven't watched any of the rest of the show. I think that would be kind of rude to whatever guest I try to get on.
I joined a podcast a couple months ago where they had me watch the 4th Fast and Furious movie. I'd never seen any of the other ones.
What? That one requires there's so many of them that don't require backstory, and that's the one that starts to. Yeah, that's really funny.
So I had 4 pages of notes why did he do this?
Who the hell is Letty? Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying about wanting continuity in that, because the next week that they had a different person every week for a different installment of Fast and Furious, and it was basically to convince the other one co-host loved the movies, the other co-host didn't like them, but had never seen them. So it was their way of bringing in different people to bring perspective to him to get him to watch them.
That's funny.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Shout out to the Versus podcast.
Nice.
Versus podcast. All right, I'm writing that down.
All right.
Good guys.
So,
good guys.
Do either of you have any final thoughts before I end off the episode?
This was a ton of fun. I miss watching Marvel related animated stuff, and it's What If aside, I enjoyed some What If, but there's a lot of Marvel animated stuff out there that I probably have never seen, and it just reminded me of that.
Yeah. I love Hulk. This was a great treat back in the day. I don't know if you ever or plan on covering his appearance in next Avengers. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, I watched that when I was younger, and I probably will do that at some point. He's not there enough. I have to decide how I want to do films that are not particularly Hulk films.
Yeah.
Like, I want to at some point be able to do like his entire journey through the MCU, but being that I want to mainly have my podcast be about Hulk, it would be weird having like doing the Avengers, and then it would only be like once every like 5-10 minutes where I even mention anything about Hulk,
right?
Because he's not the main focus of the film.
Yeah.
Like, also, I probably wouldn't end up doing like signing for Iron Man 3, even though technically he's at the end of that film, because he's not in that really enough for it to make sense to do an episode on that.
Just not that kind of doctor.
Like, I'm thinking that at least for the MCU, though I'm going to do an episode for The Incredible Hulk for 2008. I think the rest of it, I might try to just do like one episode that's talking about his entire journey through the MCU.
Yeah, it's really hard to focus on a character that's just peppered across the properties and not a focal character. He's a main Avenger, like he's listed on the plaque in Hawkeye. Yeah, but he's the only one that's just sprinkled across.
Maybe what I could do is have an episode that's first do one of him in Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, and then have another episode be about Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame, because Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame were supposedly their version of a Hulk trilogy somehow, even though he wasn't really a focus in them.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So
they had an arc in the
that is a solid breakdown though.
Yeah. All right. So since you guys have had your final thoughts, and I do want to say that you both are, as always, Keith already knows this, but you're welcome back on the podcast anytime you want to come. And thank you to everyone for listening. And if you like this gamma analysis, please give a 5-star review. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the mini film, so please let me know. And if you'd like to listen to more from me, please subscribe. Many more gamma analysis coming from me, so keep on the lookout. This again is your host, Smash Trivia John, signing off.